What I suck at. This is something I write down in my shooting journal every single year when I start my training and the season begins, because I've had a long season prior. I've probably developed some bad habits throughout all the events and the distractions and certainly the rush of hunting. And I haven't really focused on the details and the finesse, and I've been really just kind of putting a bunch of dings in my blade, as you would say, rather than continually polishing that thing and keeping myself sharp. So I write this down, what I suck at, and the first thing that I do is I want to know 3 things while my memory's still fresh of the season prior and things that I wish I had been better at. I'm going to write those down, and those are going to become focal points for this front portion of my training and when training begins. And I can tell you right now, some of the things that I've made note of throughout this past season that I really want to key in on personally for this year are going to be my shoulder, my grip, and the last thing I'm going to focus on is my follow through. These are all details of my shot that I've noticed through pictures and videos that I've had inconsistencies on and that I get weak on. Once you figure out what these details are, I don't want you to be working on all of them at one time. I then want you to prioritize this list and figure out systematically which one will I work on first that might actually help one of the other ones come along. So when I look at this shoulder position, my front shoulder position, and honestly this comes from not shooting so much, my front shoulder starts to creep, starts to fatigue. So learning to keep that front shoulder down and forward and not letting it creep and creep and creep up, that's going to be a huge priority. And honestly, my follow through is a result of this front shoulder collapsing, and it's preventing that follow through, and it's also preventing my dynamics coming through my shot. So truthfully, when I look at this shoulder right here is going to become a number 1. And the follow through would be number 3, because this is going to be something that I can work on once this gets strong. Now I may take 3 weeks to a month to work on that development, but I'm certainly going to just pick one thing and work on that first and then move on to the next. Now for me personally, I'm just going to tell you with my grip position, I was working on a lot of different bows this past year in design phase, some shorter axle-to-axle bows, some shorter brace height bows, and at my longer draw length with a shorter axle-to-axle bow, my front hand position is more important than with a bow that's a little bit longer and has a little bit bigger brace height, because that extra string angle and honestly that arrow not being on the string as long on that longer setup versus my shorter setup, my grip matters, and I've noticed a difference. So I'm going to focus on that grip. So shoulder is going to be first. That's going to take stamina. It's going to take time. And when I feel like this is starting to progress and it's starting to get where I want it to be, then what I'll do is I'll take that same amount of time, focus on the front hand position, really key in on that and going through all the principles that you've seen me do videos about. And then once that's done and I'm solid here, well, now naturally focusing on the follow through is going to be a great progression, because honestly, if you look at myself at full draw systematically, that front bow hand, that shoulder, and that follow through, they're all in line, but the shoulder being in between the two is something that I've got to have right first, and then the other ones will come along. But don't be afraid to get yourself a journal, figure out what you're worse at, and make those things the priority to be the best they can be, and your shooting is going to naturally progress and you're going to see big advancements.